Welcome to Life Fit and Love. In this episode, we delve into the realities of modern medicine, exploring how the pharmaceutical industry often prioritizes prescribing medications over addressing the root causes of illness. We discuss how this approach benefits drug manufacturers, while patients may be left treating symptoms rather than achieving true healing. Join us as we examine the implications of this system and consider alternative approaches that focus on long-term health and well-being.
Hey everyone, ready to dive into some interesting stuff today.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be unpacking lies from modern medicine.
Yeah.
This book really doesn't hold back.
Yeah, it's provocative.
Challenges a lot of what we think we know about healthcare, you know?
It is. It's a fascinating read,
Yeah.
especially, I think, given the author's background.
Yeah.
They're coming at this after attending a low-carb medical conference, which, kind of colors their whole perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a room full of doctors saying food is medicine.
Yeah.
That's the lens they're looking through.
So it's kind of like that's their starting point. They're like, all right,
Yeah,
let's go from here.
totally.
So they're starting off already like swinging, right?
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, they throw down the gauntlet, claim it like the whole system is rigged, right?
Yeah.
Big pharma, the junk food industry, it's all about profit, not our well-being.
Yeah, and that's where they bring in this idea that over-specialization in medicine is part of the problem.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
You go to a cardiologist for your heart, a
Right.
gastroenterologist for your gut, right?
Right.
But they're saying this hyper-focus on individual parts means we're missing the bigger picture, right?
Right.
How everything in the body is connected.
Yeah, it's like that saying, can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the author argues that this is happening in medical education, too.
Okay.
They claim medical schools barely even scratch the surface when it comes to nutrition.
Which is wild, right?
It is.
If our bodies are like cars, shouldn't doctors understand the fuel we're putting in them?
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But okay, enough big picture stuff. Let's get to like the nitty gritty.
Yeah, let's do it.
The book calls out 9 lies of modern medicine.
Okay.
The first one is a real head scratcher for me.
Yeah.
You don't need your gallbladder.
Ah, interesting.
Right.
Now, this is an interesting one. So the gallbladder stores bile salts,
Okay.
which are kind of like your body's natural dish soap, right?
Okay.
They break down fats in your food.
Yeah.
What the author argues is that, sure, you can live without your gallbladder,
Okay.
but it might not be as simple as some doctors make it seem.
Yeah, they make it seem like it's no big deal.
Right.
Like, oh, we'll just take it out. But they make a point that, like, without that concentrated bile, digesting certain fats, especially healthy fats, becomes a lot tougher, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it makes you rethink those optional organ jokes, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, maybe not so optional.
It's interesting, and
Yeah.
it ties back into the author's whole focus on food as medicine, right?
Right.
They're suggesting that even if a procedure is common,
Yeah.
it might have these downstream effects on our health that we don't always consider.
Right. And that we don't even really think about.
Right?
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, lie number 2 really hit home for me.
Hmm.
Because I know so many people on statins. Statins are harmless.
Right.
That's what we hear all the time.
Yeah, this is where the book really starts digging into the science. And the author points to studies linking statins to muscle pain,
Okay.
increased risk of type 2 diabetes,
Wow.
and even potential liver damage.
Really?
Now, they're not saying everyone who takes statins will experience these side effects,
Right.
but they argue that these potential downsides are often downplayed.
Yeah. And their bigger point seems to be, why are we so quick to prescribe medication instead of addressing the root cause of high cholesterol in the first place, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're even arguing that cholesterol isn't inherently a bad thing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
They dedicate a whole section to explaining how cholesterol is essential for building hormones,
Right.
cell membranes, and all sorts of vital functions in the body.
Yeah.
So blocking its production with medication might not be the best long-term approach.
Yeah, it's like, it's like we're putting a Band-Aid on a leaky faucet instead of fixing the plumbing, right?
That's a great way to put it.
Like, what's the actual cause of this?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Right, exactly. Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Lie number 3. Salt is the enemy when it comes to high blood pressure.
Right.
Now, I've definitely heard this one a million times.
It's a classic.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's not that simple.
Not that simple, no.
Right.
They delve into this concept of salt sensitivity,
Okay.
which means some people experience a greater spike in blood pressure after eating salty foods than others, right?
Right.
So not everybody reacts the same way.
Okay.
And they also emphasize the importance of potassium.
So it's not just about ditching the salt shaker.
Right. They're suggesting that increasing your potassium intake can actually help your body tolerate salt better.
Interesting.
And even promote healthier arteries.
So what you're saying is it's all about balance.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a recurring theme throughout the book, is challenging these oversimplified health messages.
Right.
And encouraging us to look deeper.
Oh.
For example, the author argues that the common advice to avoid red meat
Oh, yeah.
might actually be doing us a disservice.
Okay, so we're already at line number 5.
We're getting there.
Red meat equals cancer.
Yeah.
Because that's a big one, right?
That's a big one.
To unpack.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so line number 5 is all about red meat.
Okay.
The author is arguing that this advice to cut out red meat, especially to prevent cancer, is based on shaky ground. In fact, they make the case that grass-fed red meat is one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat.
Okay, that's definitely different from what we usually hear. So
Yeah.
what makes grass-fed red meat so special according to the book? I mean, isn't it still high in saturated fat?
Right, that's another common misconception the book tackles.
Okay.
Lie number 6 is, all saturated fat is bad.
Okay.
And the author pushes back against this idea really hard, saying it's not that straightforward.
Okay.
They argue that saturated fat by itself isn't the villain it's been made out to be.
So they're saying that whole fat is evil thing was a bit overblown.
Exactly.
Right.
They point to the research on traditional cultures that thrived on diets high in saturated fat,
Yeah.
from things like fatty fish, coconut oil, and even red meat. Their argument is that it's the types of fat we've become accustomed to in modern diets. You know, those processed vegetable oils and trans fats found in packaged foods that are the real culprits.
That's really interesting. It's like we were so busy demonizing one thing, we didn't see the other problem sneaking up on us. But going back to red meat for a second,
Yeah.
the book highlights some specific nutrients it offers, right?
Absolutely. They talk about how red meat is a fantastic source of B vitamins,
Okay.
which are crucial for energy production,
Right.
and iron, which is essential for healthy blood.
Right.
They also highlight zinc, which plays a key role in immune function,
Okay.
and creatine, which is important for muscle growth and strength.
So it's not just about the presence of these nutrients in red meat, but like their bioavailability.
Yeah,
Right. Like how easily our bodies can actually absorb and use them.
you got it.
Oh.
They argue that the forms of these nutrients found in red meat are particularly easy for our bodies to absorb, making it a superior source compared to some plant-based options.
Okay, so maybe red meat deserves a second look after all. This next lie feels especially relevant in today's world. Lie number 7, weight loss equals health.
Right.
Right.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the author challenges this assumption that being thin automatically equals being healthy.
Okay.
They argue that weight is often a symptom of underlying issues, not the root cause itself.
Like you could be at a healthy weight, but still have unhealthy habits that will catch up to you eventually.
Precisely.
Oh, okay.
They talk about how someone can be relatively thin, but still have insulin resistance.
A condition where your cells don't respond properly to insulin, leading to high blood sugar.
And they link insulin resistance to all those refined carbs and sugars we eat.
Yes.
Okay.
The author argues that focusing solely on weight loss without addressing these underlying metabolic issues is like putting a Band-Aid on a much deeper problem.
So it's about addressing the why behind the weight, not just the number on the scale.
Exactly. It's about focusing on overall metabolic health, which includes things like blood sugar balance, cholesterol levels, blood pressure, factors that might not always show up on the scale, but are crucial for long-term well-being.
That's a really important distinction.
Right.
Okay, on to lie number 8.
Yeah.
Plant-based is always healthier.
Right.
Now, I'm all for eating more veggies,
Sure.
but this book made me rethink the whole plant-based trend a bit.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Right.
But the author stresses that not all plant-based foods are created equal.
Right.
They're particularly critical of processed plant-based meat alternatives.
Yeah, they call out all those plant-based burgers and sausages that are loaded with ingredients you can barely pronounce.
Exactly.
Right.
Their point is that these highly processed options are a far cry from whole natural foods like vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains, the foundations of a truly healthy plant-based diet.
So it's not about avoiding animal products altogether, but about making sure you're choosing whole, minimally processed foods, whether they're plant-based or not.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
They actually use the example of eggs to illustrate this point.
Interesting. What do eggs have to do with it?
Well, for years, eggs were demonized for their cholesterol content.
Right.
But the book points out that eggs are a nutritional powerhouse,
Okay.
packed with protein, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals.
Okay.
They argue that a whole food, like an egg, even though it comes from an animal, can be a much healthier choice than a highly processed, plant-based meat alternative.
Okay, so lie number 9. This is the one I'm still wrapping my head around. Hypoglycemia is a diabetes complication.
Right.
Help me out here.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like a contradiction in terms.
Right.
Hypoglycemia means low blood sugar,
Right.
and diabetes is characterized by high blood sugar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how can low blood sugar be a complication of high blood sugar?
That's exactly what the author wants us to question.
Okay.
They argue that this lie highlights a fundamental flaw in how we often approach diabetes management.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So it seems counterintuitive, but the author argues that this lie stems from like a misunderstanding of how diabetes medications, especially insulin,
Okay.
can sometimes work too well.
Too well. How so?
Well, if someone with diabetes takes too much insulin or like doesn't eat enough after taking it, their blood sugar can plummet, leading to hypoglycemia.
Okay.
So the author's point is that this dangerous drop in blood sugar isn't a direct result of the diabetes itself,
Right.
but rather a side effect of the medication.
Okay, that makes sense. But I've also heard, like, doctors tell people with diabetes to eat candy if they feel their blood sugar getting low, which always seemed counterintuitive to me. I mean, like, if the goal is to manage your blood sugar, like, why are we giving you more sugar, right?
You're hitting on another point the book emphasizes.
Okay.
The author thinks it's absurd to treat low blood sugar with, more sugar.
Right.
They argue that this quick fix just perpetuates the cycle of blood sugar spikes and crashes.
Right.
That can be so damaging in the long run.
Yeah.
They'd rather see a focus on addressing the root causes of these fluctuations, like diet and lifestyle factors,
Okay.
rather than just relying on these Band-Aid solutions.
So if we were to, like, step back and look at all 9 of these so-called lies together,
Yeah.
what's the overarching message here?
Yeah.
Like, what does the author really want us to take away from all this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think this book isn't just about like debunking common health myths.
Yeah.
It's about empowering you to think critically about health information and to question the status quo,
To not just blindly accept everything you hear, even if it's coming from, someone in a white coat.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's about remembering that you have a voice in your own healthcare.
Okay.
You can ask questions, do your own research, and have open conversations with your healthcare providers.
Be an active participant in your health journey, not just, a passive bystander.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The author wants you to feel empowered to advocate for your own health and well-being.
This has been incredibly eye-opening, to say the least. It really makes you wonder what other health truths we might be taking for granted.
Right. That's the beauty of a deep dive like this.
Yeah.
It's not about telling you what to think, but about giving you the information and the different perspectives to form your own conclusions.
Start a conversation.
Right.
And get people thinking and researching right.
For sure.
And figuring out, like, what works for them.
Yeah.
So if any of these lies resonated with you, or even just, sparked your curiosity, don't just take our word for it.
Right.
Go out there and do your own research. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah, see what you find.
See what you discover.
Exactly.
Well, this has been great.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.